Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and welcome to another great broadcast here at the Info Warrior. Today we are going to talk everything out there with one Todd McGreevy of the River Cities Reader, rcreader.com. We'll be showing the website in a moment. You can also follow him at Todd McGreevy, but I encourage you to check out the publication in print if you are in the Quad Cities, and if not, to get online immediately. Todd, what are the big stories in this edition of the River Cities Reader?
In the morning, Jason. Thanks for having me on the Info Warrior. Greatly appreciate it. And the March edition of the River Cities Reader, issue number 995, came out March 10th. We have on the cover, "What is the Great Reset?" is the lead on the cover, if you will. It includes "Emergency Powers Threaten Lives and Liberty," an essay written by my wife and editor, Kathleen McCarthy. It includes COVID-19 answers from local hospitals. We talked about this on our last broadcast with you, how we provided the two local hospitals numerous interrogatories about their practices in great detail. And we published an essay by Mike Rechtenwald called "What is the Great Reset?" which we feel is a really well-rounded, thorough analysis of what many consider conspiracy theory, but is right in our face. And there's books written about it, which we'll talk about. And the summation of that is how the World Economic Forum and its strategic partners are openly implementing the fourth industrial revolution to eliminate individuality, free will, and free markets. It's right in our face. And so those are the main topics. We also, in this issue of the River Cities Reader, published a preview of the Tool concert that you and I attended here recently in Moline, and I published the lyrics to their lead song and their album that came out in the fall of 2019, right before the scamdemic, called "Fear Inoculum," which I encourage everybody to read, which is, pretty much ahead of its time. If you read the lyrics, it, in my view, was giving a warning to fear the jab. And it was pretty straightforward. Anyway, it was fascinating. And when at the show, they opened with that song and they just drilled it. I thought it was outstanding. It was, we need to have a little bit of enjoyment in our lives from time to time,
Wherever you're moving, you're shaking your camera every single time you move.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. But the concert was extremely enjoyable. They did lead with "Fear Inoculum," and then they ended with "Invincible." And when I made the thumbnail for this and I was talking about beyond the Cold War, right now in the midst of this fourth industrial revolution, we have this conflict kicking off across the world, and it is now being framed in a manner that, hey, maybe nuclear war isn't so bad, and hey, maybe we do need World War III, and this seems to be the new great narrative for a better future that we're being pushed upon. Now, Todd, you were gracious enough in October to MC the event I put on with the Conscious Resistance and Derek Brose on his Greater Reset Tour. And one of the themes of that Greater Reset Tour was, in fact, this book, which is a follow-up to COVID-19, The Great Reset, and now they push for a great narrative in what has been described by the Predator class themselves in 2018 at the Bilderberg meeting as the post-truth world. So, narratives no longer have to be the truth.
Wait, get that back up there, will you please? That CNBC headline. That's what was that in 2018? That headline?
That's not even really a headline. That was on the docket. So, in other words, Todd, you're going to love this. But as you know, through pressure from myself and other people, we constantly were prodding at the Bilderberg Group to allow journalists to interact with somebody, something. So eventually, they made it a website. This happened probably about 2012. And I've been checking it. I'm trying to see if there's going to be an upcoming Bilderberg meeting for 2022. But on those dockets, what they would do is they would put out what they were concerned about and what the main things they were going to be discussing. For instance, when I was there in 2017, the ex-head of the World Bank walked out, and I asked him about how they were talking about CERN openly. And, whether that was a concern. It was the same year that they decided, hey, CERN's not big enough. we need a larger global project, and we're actually going to make a CERN 4 to 5 times larger. That was in 2017. In 2000,
remind me, CERN is the
CERN is the Large Hadron Collider project that
collider,
waves across many different nation states. So in 2018, the year after, this was the list. It was populism in Europe, the inequality challenge, the future of work, weird. We got into that telework pretty quick during that fourth industrial revolution. Artificial intelligence, something I harp on all the time. The U.S. before the midterms that year. Remember, that's before Epstein even gets arrested. And for those that don't know, Steve Bannon reportedly met with Epstein before the midterms. Anybody can check that out. That's a story that comes from Roger Stone. While I was working at We Are Change, we actually confronted Mike Cernovich about it, and he got a little squirrely on us, and I've never, ever, ever heard that retorted. So just putting that out there. Free trade. U.S. world leadership, okay, Russia, quantum computing, goes back with AI, the future of work. Saudi Arabia and Iran, the post-truth world, and current events. So it's not just a headline. It was literally on their docket for narrative management and how they would manage the quote-unquote post-truth world, Todd. And I think we're living in it right now.
Oh, we are big time. And, you know, these books, I mean, you put it up on the screen. It's all I did, Jason, I swear. I just opened it up randomly to a page the other day. Just you know, let's just do a random, and I opened it up to page 114. And on page 114 is and I apologize about the camera moving. Hold on one second, please. Just bear with me. I'm not as high tech as you are. Global governance. It's 1.4.2 is on page 114. And the two notions of global governance and international cooperation are so intertwined that it is nigh on impossible for global governance to flourish in a divided world that is retrenching and fragmenting. The more nationalism and isolationism pervade the global polity. The global polity, who knew we had to have a global polity? The greater the chance that global governance loses its relevance and becomes ineffective. Sadly, we are now at this critical juncture. Jason, put bluntly, we live in a world in which nobody is really in charge.
Oh, nobody's
really in charge. We just need somebody in charge. That's all we need, Jason. So,
well, you know what, Todd? I'm so glad that you pointed that out. Because for those that are unaware of who Klausy Klaus would like in charge, you know, we talk about 2018, and this having all sorts of troubles today, but that's okay. In 2018, we have the post-truth world in Bilderberg, but in 2017 at Davos, Klaus Schwab openly tells you that the model is China, and China will be in the global leadership role. Let's play that clip for everybody. So here it is, Klaus talking about China in the leadership role globally in 2017.
To this year's meeting as the keynote speaker.
We have had a Chinese delegation at this annual meeting since 1979. But what is different this year is that we are just in the midst of a transformation process where we move in the world from a unipolar to a multipolar world. And of course, here China, in this new geopolitical and geoeconomic context, plays an enormous role. So it was very appropriate to invite the president to join us, and he, as the leader of the country, to talk to us about the future's engagement of China in global affairs and the leadership role China will assume in determining and constructing our global future.
It's right there. China is going to be in the leadership role in constructing our global future. And that is in 2017 when he invites Xi in, and he is completely and totally unapologetic about that being the model. The book, The Great Reset, comes after. The Great Narrative is only 4 months old. And narratives, Todd, maybe you haven't realized this lately, don't necessarily have to have any truth to them to be pushed, do they?
No, they do not. Most often they do not have any truth. In fact, the amount of lies that are going on are just phenomenal.
Hey everybody, Jason Bermas here, and what you just watched was a small excerpt of my interview with Todd McGreevy of the River Cities Reader. If you want to see the entire interview, please go over to rockfin.com/Jason Bermas. That's where you find all of my stuff completely uncensored. And if you would rather just check it out in audio form, it is also over at my Podbean, the infowarrior.podbean.com. Make sure you're subscribing over there as well, as we're putting a lot of things out in just audio format and even putting video casts over there as well. So I just want to say thank you for joining me. Go catch the rest of this episode over on the flip side.